Hi, and welcome to SEO Hangouts with Josh Bashinsky. If you've never seen the show before, SEO Hangouts is the premier SEO show on the YouTubes, probably the longest running. And we try to give information about SEO and Facebook and internet marketing and what's going on. And I often don't mute myself on YouTube, which I just had to do there. And everyone take a drink, because I forgot to, it's a drinking game we play. I forgot to mute myself, so today. And we try to answer SEO questions. If you could see, you probably see the chat on the top right-hand side. By all means, if you're watching live, ask SEO questions. Please use a few asterisks so I can see them with my Coke bottle glasses. And also, if you have any sites you want me to take a look at, we're kind of having a free-for-all today. I'm going to show you some new information. I'm going to show you some stuff that's going on. Hi, Jesper. Happy Easter to you as well. I'm going to try and show some stuff that's going on, some stuff that my mentorship group would be able to see. I'm going to talk about the course I've come up, an SEO 101 course for my mentorship group, which you guys are free to join, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And however, before I do that, I would like to say, if you're now, this is everyone, turn your ears off if you've heard this sales pitch before. If you've never heard my sales pitch, turn your ears on, please. If you're wondering, why the heck should I listen to this guy? He's some crazy guy with a beard. He's got a crazy rabbit behind him. What's the deal? He's wearing some kind of Evil Dead t-shirt. It is an Evil Dead t-shirt. Why should I listen to this fellow? Well, here's the reason why you should. Because I have the best scientific knowledge of what's going on with the Google algorithms. My mentorship group tests on a scientific basis what's going on for SEO. And not only this, but we have the best track record of, I would say, not only any SEO science group, but any SEO group, period. And I challenge you, I bequeath a quest upon thee to go anywhere on Facebook, on YouTube, anywhere else in the world, and find an SEO group that has as much success as we do. Absolutely no one has ever come back to me and ever with any group that's doing as well as we are. And how well is our group doing? I will prove it to you. I'll show you. Go to bit.ly/SEO proof. That's bit.ly/SEO proof. And you will see 240 examples over there of our sites killing it ever since last year, including after the Medic update, including after and in spite of the Florida update. Our group is killing it. And that's because of our stringent scientific testing that we take very seriously here in my group. And we have uncovered secrets and crazy ranking factors that you would not believe. And so, end sales pitch. So thanks very much for joining us. I'd also like to mention the other folks on the show here. I have Melissa, who is our Facebook guru. Hi there, Melissa. Say hi, please.
Hello.
And we have Tracy and Travis, who are also members of my mentorship group. You guys can unmute yourself, say hi if you like, or you could just whatever you want.
Hello.
Hey. Hey, Travis. How you doing? So thank you very much, everyone, for joining. So as I said, if you have any SEO questions, please ask them at the top right-hand side. And if you would like me to take a quick look at your site, I can do a 40,000-foot view of some stuff that's going on with your site. I've got a new tool that I've been playing with. That it's actually quite an old SEO tool, but I've been away from it for a while. But I've gone back to it. I've fallen back in love with this SEO tool, which I'll talk about in a second, which is actually free. You can use it free in some, probably most cases. And so you're like, what SEO tool is this? It's actually pretty darn good. And I would like to show it to you in a little bit, just a couple things from it in a little bit. So as I said, put your site in the chat. If you're watching live, I might be able to do something about it. If you want me to look at your site later on, email me at joshbashinsky@gmail.com. If you're having any SEO trouble, or you want me to take a look at your site, or you have any SEO questions also after the show, please email me at joshbashinsky@gmail.com. I would be happy to try and help you out. If I have any time to do so, I will be happy to do so. Okay, so hi folks, hi Yukishin, how you guys doing? Darren, how you doing? Thank you very much for watching there. Now, I already have a downvote. Good. I'm happy. The more downvotes I get, the more truth I'm telling, because truth pisses off people who don't like the truth. So, okay, so I will, yeah, okay, good. I see your URLs there. I will approve those messages. Okay, great. So the first stuff I want to show you is kind of what's going on new. I have a couple cool things to show you what's going on here. Let me share my screen. And the first thing here I want to show you is just something I came across when I was doing an audit. And I just want to warn you guys out there, I don't leak a lot of information. I try to save the good, the really powerful secrets for my mentorship group because they're paying for those secrets. But there is some things I do share, especially when it's a danger to everybody else. So there's a negative SEO thing or a danger. I do try to share those. And here's what I like to share. This is a screenshot from our Discord chat in our mentorship program, which you too can join if you want to join the mentorship program and get all the secrets. and have access to me 24/7, unless I'm sleeping, in those rare times that I sleep. You could do that, but here is a message I shared with them. And this, what graph you're looking at here, these red bars here, or they're more pinky, but they'll be red, is errors in Search Console. And so if you're asking the question, Josh, do these errors in Search Console matter? The answer is yes. And there's some errors are worse than others, of course, but John Mueller has said you do not want errors in Search Console. He's long said that this would derank you. I've long said this would derank you. Here's some evidence to suggest that that is actually the case. And I like some bits of the new Search Console in that they allow you to look at your impressions superimposed over errors or crawl anomalies or crawl errors or things like that. And this is one that I came across where this site clearly, when the errors increased, their impressions went down. So, and then when the errors stopped, the impressions went back up. So that's a pretty cut and dry piece of evidence supporting the hypothesis that, yeah, you don't want errors in Search Console. And if you see them in there, they could very well be hurting your rankings. So you definitely want to take a look at that. So I just wanted to mention that to everybody to take a look at that. The next thing I want to show you guys here is just really quickly coming up next week, a week today. So next week, there will be no public show. I'm doing my private SEO 101 course from a mentorship group. And just so you know, what we're looking at on that show is Screaming Frog and SERPworks. So I'll be showing all the tips and tricks and crazy secrets and really powerful things to use in Screaming Frog and SERPworks. And it really is really cool. I don't claim to be an expert by any stretch of the imagination in either of these pieces of software. Although, I mean, SERPworks is pretty simple. Screaming Frog is pretty deep. It's a pretty deep pool you can get into there. I don't claim to be an expert. You know, there's a lot of people who are experts at Screaming Frog, but I do claim to be clever and be able to see a lot of different interesting things you can do with it, which I think is a different take than most. So that's going to be for my mentorship group next week. So all my mentor students, I hope your mouths are salivating over this because we'll be going over it next week. And anyone who wants to see this course, all you got to do is email me at joshbashinsky@gmail.com, and I would be happy to add you. Again, at joshbashinsky@gmail.com. Email me, and I will add you to the course next week. Will be Screaming Frog and SERPworks, how to analyze links with SERPworks and really kind of tailor what kind of links you need, the link juice you need. Our linking methods are actually quite powerful. Our testing there is quite a feather in our cap of what we've been able to find. You would not believe the kind of links that work and how cheap they can be and how powerful they can be if you know what you're doing and how safe. And also, Screaming Frog is what we go going over there is a lot of different stuff. A lot of really cool things at a glance. You can, like, at a glance, very powerfully tell a lot of stuff. And maybe today I'll try and run some sites through it. In fact, while I'm thinking about it, some people, and fantastic. We've had Jordan Pierce join us. Jordan Pierce is a local SEO guru. He's my go-to guy. Say hi there, Jordan.
Hey, everyone.
Jordan, how you doing today?
Oh, doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. I'm glad you joined the show. I wanted to ask you about what's going on in the local world. So let me just, that's what I'm going to ask you in a second, but let me just, before I forget, I'm going to take this URL, forevergreens.us, that somebody shared. And, okay, I see. And I'm going to put this in Screaming Frog. Hey, Screaming Frog, go. Where are you? Here we go. And Screaming Frog is great. If you haven't looked at it lately, it can do up to 500 URLs for free. And if you want to do more than 500 URLs, you can get the license. And the license is pretty reasonable, I found. It was only like 100 pounds or something like that, 129 pounds. It's British. So it was pretty good. So I'm going to let that crawl. I'm going to let that crawl. And hopefully, I've never done a show while I'm doing Screaming Frog before. I hope my computer doesn't slow down. But anyway, just wanted to get that done, Jordan. Sorry. So Jordan, how are things going in local SEO? Specifically, how are things going after Florida in local SEO? Have you seen a lot of changes there? What's going on there?
I've seen, well, as far as actual local changes, things are getting extremely more localized in SERPs. As far as maps go, proximity, they're making a huge push with proximity right now. So, which means they're really basing all of their users from their locations and finding local businesses. So they're just getting extremely more localized for users. That's as far as after the last couple of updates, and then they've added some more features. They're adding. They just added something where you can create um, a custom URL to quickly get to your Google My Business page. So very similar to what they had with Google Plus, where you could create a Google Plus. It's like an at or Twitter. They're bringing some of that back into local. So it's interesting that they get rid of Google Plus. They're getting rid of their social platform, yet they're still bringing in social features into their business listing. So it's like something they can't ever get away from. So that's what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, definitely. I've been playing around here with this local listing I had registered for myself. And I just want to show you this, Jordan. So this is based off that Facebook stacking we were doing, except I'm using a slightly different method. So,
Okay.
so this is kind of interesting. And one pack was coming up for me the other day. So definitely, yeah, I find it very interesting what you're talking about there. And you're also saying recently something about citations not being as important. Do you really think that's the case, or?
I think citations are still an important thing to do as far as building up your brand. I just think just because of how Google is going towards more proximity, it's getting a little bit more tricky of being able to expand your presence within your area. Citations, it's kind of more of building your brand within your actual around your address and around your zip code. But as far as really expanding that into like covering the entire city, I just don't think it has as much as an impact as it used to. So you're really going to have to get pretty creative on really expanding your proximity.
Yeah, that's going to be much more important for you to definitely be in the demographic center and not like all out in a suburb somewhere.
Right.
That's interesting. So, do you think the AI is getting smarter when it comes to, like, let's say you made a mistake on your address on some citations? Do you think that's going to be a problem, or do you think the AI is getting smarter to collapse those together?
I think they're getting pretty smart now. I don't think it's as strict. I mean, I've had citation cleanups where I have them from even from different cities, and it's still giving me ranking just because it's still giving me geo relevance. So I don't think necessarily this whole old theory of you need to have your NAP be exactly the same. I don't think you have to do that as much. I think it's just as long as you get some information out there in the top directories, that should be enough.
I find that interesting. Yeah, the AI definitely is getting smarter when it comes to global search as well. I've been noticing, and a number of people in the industry, like Search Metrics, for example, has noticed that it literally there seems to be enough evidence now to suggest that Google is using multiple indices, and like we used to talk about the supplemental index and the main index. Now it looks to me like they have like alpha, beta, gamma, kappa, mu, nu. Like they have like 5 or 6 different indexes that they might use at any given time with different shades of personalization, different shades of localization, and that the AI is randomly choosing these ranking and or indexing factors or sort factors. And Search Metrics out of Germany is doing an update on that next week, and I've also been talking about that. Do you see something like A/B testing and really a lot of like switching SERPs in local a lot, or is it still?
I don't see it as much as I do at local as I used to, just because things are getting a little bit more localized now. But I will say that it's just extremely important that you really build out your brand early on, so you don't have a lot of those filtering problems. Because especially with maps, sometimes like if you get a brand new business listing up, it may take a few days before it even indexes on a keyword. So it's just super important that even though citations aren't as impactful, it's still extremely important to really help build up your brand. And I think that as fast as you build up your brand, you won't see a lot of those A/B testing.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's a very interesting hypothesis that I would probably believe as well. And so I guess then all the entity building that you guys like to do, you and the NFG guys, Mike Pierce and Brad, I guess that would tie into that as well, the entity building.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's very interesting. So are you still running your local group?
Yeah, we still have it. Yep.
Good.
We're up
So
to about
definitely
190 people now, so we're growing.
Okay, how do people get into your local group then? Because if
Yeah.
you want to do local SEO, you definitely should be talking with Jordan and those guys.
Yep, just go to gmbmasteracademy.com.
Fantastic. Tell him Josh sent you.
Yep.
And maybe Jordan will maybe he'll buy me a real Thrasher sweatshirt from LA or something.
That's right. I don't have to steal your hoodie that you had on, or your shirt.
A funny story about that hoodie. I used to skateboard when I was a teenager, and I'm 44 now, and so everything. I'm sure everyone's noticed who grew up in the 90s. A lot of 90s stuff is coming back. So I saw this Thrasher T-shirt. So, sorry, quick story. I saw this Thrasher T-shirt come up, this sweatshirt. And I'm like, okay, great. So I bought it, and Melissa's like, okay, rolling her eyes. Okay, sure, reliving your youth, whatever. And so we're literally driving home, and I look to my right, and I see this guy who looks like Santa Claus. He must have been in his 60s. He's got like a huge white beard, white hair, but he's got like a toque on. Well, we call it a toque French, but like a hat, And he's wearing, and he literally looked like he walked into the Gap or something, and pointed at a mannequin and said, I want all of that. Dress me just like that. Because he had like his perfect shirt tucked in, and he had like a handkerchief, and he had like a little wallet chain hanging off, and he had a skateboard. And he's like trying to skate. He looked like Julian Assange trying to skateboard, just trying to skateboard. He basically kind of looked like Gandalf Julian Assange on that skateboard video, if anyone's seen that one, trying to skateboard. And the funny thing is, he was wearing the same Thrasher. I was all proud of my Thrasher sweatshirt. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna wear this. It's gonna be cool. And he's wearing a Thrasher sweatshirt. So I'm like, nice. Oh no, I'm a poser. Oh no, oh damn it. So that's what you get for trying to relive your youth, right?
You're a couple years away from a Santa Claus beard.
Maybe. I have it. I have the light in here just perfect, so you can't see the grays. You can just see the red. Okay, all right. Let's take a look here at the questions we got going on here on YouTube, and then maybe I'll see if I can show you guys some interesting Screaming Frog stuff. I can't go too in depth. I'm just going to give you like 1% of what I would talk about next week in my course. Kate asks, hey, Josh, I need to promote my website for a different language in a different country. What is the best practice? The best practice is hreflang. So you want href, href space lang. Google that, and you need to set up the hreflang code. The hreflang HTML is a bit of HTML that goes in the header pages of all the different languages, like English, French, German, whatever it is, and it goes on every single page. So on your German Red Apples page and your French Red Apples page and your English Red Apples page, it has the same crop of hreflang text for that page. And on the index page, it has the same crop for the index page, and that has to be duplicated on every page exactly. And that's where people get that wrong, usually, is where they get that wrong. So make sure you have that code on every page, and it's identical. Like page A on all sites gets the same code. Page B on all sites get the same code referring to page B. It's it's canonical. It's reciprocal. It refers to itself and to all of its siblings in different languages. So it's simple HTML you put in there, but the tricky part is people just put it in the English version and assume Google will magically know about the other versions. No, you need to put it in all language versions of the identical pages, and then Google will swap out. If someone's searching in German and your English page ranks well, theoretically speaking, Google will swap out the German version and give it to them if they're searching in German, that kind of a deal. So you just have to watch out for that. Max says backlinking is not working anymore, even if we do guest posting. That's not at all what we've been finding, Max. So look at bit.ly/SEO proof. A lot of those proofs there include linking in them. Some of them specifically say linking. So go to bit.ly/SEO proof. Don't believe me. Don't believe a word I say. I'm some guy on YouTube. What are you listening to me for? Go to bit.ly/SEO proof. I'm providing some proof, actually. Go to, unlike everybody else on YouTube. Go to bit.ly/SEO proof and see most of those examples have to do with linking. Some of them specifically say linking. Go there and check it out. And if you want to know how we're doing our linking, email me at joshpaczynski@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to try and help you out. Okay, so let's take a look at this Screaming Frog here. So I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, so Screaming Frog is done. The crawl is at 100%. And so this is very interesting here. We've got, in terms of pages, I could probably find a way to count this. Like I said, I'm not perfect at this at this piece of software. I was wondering if there's a way it would summarize it up for me. It doesn't seem to, but
Josh,
yeah.
in the right rail, you have a summary
Yes.
that can give you the snapshot of everything, plus the pages that were crawled. Now,
Yes.
some of those, you want to make sure it's not files as well.
Right. Yes. Yes. So yeah. Also here in the left drop down, I could just select HTML here. So it did seem to crawl thereabouts around 662 pages. I don't know if that's what you think there should be, but that seems to be what it crawled there. And so I like to do this is really great for an at a glance kind of a check as to what is going on here. You could search for various things to see what's going on. I like to search stuff like in page titles, for example. Do you have a date in the titles is a good question. No, it doesn't look like it. Do you have any salesy kind of words that I would talk a lot more about on the course? I'm just going to whip through them now. No, you don't seem to have a lot of salesy words in there. What are you trying to rank for? It looks like you're trying to rank for kind of everything, at least on the index page: artificial turf, pavers, putting greens, patio covers, bocce courts. Again, this kind of catch-all approach is going to have a wide net for Google, but it's not kind of a specific potent signal for Google. So that is, again, something you might want to consider. Here's the thing I love about the titles is you have over 568 pixels. You can click this one down here, and it immediately tells you what's over 568 pixels, and these are going to get cut off by Google. So immediately you could just click over 568 pixels, say export, and give that to your writer and say, fix this, right? Because you wouldn't want them to cut off, and you want Google to be able to see the whole thing ostensibly. You could do the same for meta description, all those kinds of things. Meta keywords, interesting. I'm just going to say stuff and not defend it, not give you the reason why, but you could just see stuff at a glance here. I see you have, you could see the H1 and H2 structure here. Here's the H1s. Here's the H2. Yes, these matter tremendously for ranking. How exactly? Email me at joshbachynski@gmail.com. I'd love to tell you. Canonicals, do I have my canonicals set? Yes, it looks like they are set. You can just check this really quickly on all the different pages. So that's a great thing. Another interesting thing is that if you have access to analytics and Search Console, you can have API access and have the analytics and Search Console data in here, and including Ahrefs as well. Of course, I don't have that for the site because it was just sent to me. So excuse me a second. So if I had that, it would be showing up here, and you can make more judgments based on that. So it just really is powerful. Just let your imagination kind of run wild of the different stuff you could do with this. How quickly, like let's say, what do you want to rank for? Let's say it's greens. I could just see, what page have greens on it, and I could see here that you're always repeating your brand name at the end of the title. Again, that is another thing that is kind of an interesting thing. If I do a crawl analysis here, here's another really interesting bit. After you do a crawl analysis, it's going to tell you some other kind of interesting information, and that's going to run. Who knows how long it's going to run? It might run for a while. So once you do the crawl analysis, it's going to tell you some different information, like this little sucker here. So I'll just give you a little teaser. See that thing that says link score? So that would be very interesting to see what that would do after we do the crawl analysis. So that's this little teaser of some stuff you could do in Screaming Frog. If you want more information, email me at joshbachynski@gmail.com. I'd love to give you some more information about that. Let's go back to the questions here and see if there's any other questions. George says, what's your opinion about hosting on a website on a dedicated IP? I would prefer it. If you can afford to have your website hosted on a dedicated IP, that's the way I would do it. I wouldn't want to use a shared IP just because it's a factor of risk mitigation or troubleshooting. I would want to just get rid of all the chances that there could be a problem with the risk mitigation, with the shared IP address for whatever reason, from a speed perspective, from a spam perspective, from an AI making a dumb decision that all shared IPs are garbage because it machine learned that's the case. I wouldn't want any of those things to get in the way, so I would watch out for that. Darren says, localizing seems to hurt me since I don't have a brick and mortar location. What do you think about that, Jordan? Do you think people who service the entire city are going to be damaged from this local geolocation being a even more enhanced feature?
No, because even brick and mortars actually have a more difficult time, just because of how they're set. Most brick and mortars don't set a service area. They just expect that people are going to be close by or finding, local hardware store and just drive down to them. As opposed to like a plumber who services a much larger service area. There's lots of things that you can do to really expand that proximity. But I mean, even a hardware store can expand that too. But it's a little bit easier for service areas just because of things and settings that you can set within the GMB itself to really help expand that. So in theory, brick and mortar is actually more difficult than the service area that you have set.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jordan, for that answer. Andrew Bankson asked another local question, which I see you also answered there. He says, for a multiple location service area business that services dozens of cities across the US, would you recommend creating a Facebook for each individual location? That's also a Melissa question too.
Yeah, I definitely would. So each location should really have its own brand.
That could be, I think that could be, have some trouble in maintaining that though. Maybe not a lot of stuff going on each different area. Melissa, do you have any opinions about that?
As far as doing like everyday updates and keeping it interesting and that kind of thing, you can always what I've done with clients like that is a couple general posts and then specifics to each page. That's how I go across. And then cross promoting back and forth, depending what the business is, of course. If it's a bunch of locations in a city, you can always reference the other one. It might be close to grandma's house. So that's what I've done anyways, and been quite successful with that.
Okay. So it's more work, but it's doable. Oh, hello. Would you say that? It's more work, but it's doable? Are you still there? What happened? Did the aliens get you? Okay, the aliens have stolen my wife.
I've been beamed back. Sorry about that. I was just gone for a minute.
So did you? So it's more work, but it's doable, or?
Yep, basically, yeah. Is that the general post you're putting across all of them, and then each one gets an individual. And let's be serious, there's a lot of stuff you can put on more than one location.
Okay. All right. Great. Fantastic. Thank you. Kelvin Lee asks, question for local SEO. What would be the point of optimizing so much if Google is prioritizing proximity? Results will just be based on location and other factors will be minimal. Would you say that's true, Jordan?
I would just say that, the old ways of just building out as many citations as you can and things like that, I think those days are kind of over. There's other optimization techniques that you can do to really push for user experience and proximity. I'm not saying don't do citations; they're still important, but you just have to get more creative on how you expand that proximity now, because everything is user based. Everything is based upon where users are. User experience too. That's why Google is, they got rid of Google Plus for business, but they're still bringing back these features. So when Google comes out with a feature, there's a reason for it. So you should be really using every single thing that's in there. It's something that I teach all my students is if Google's coming out with a product or a feature, you should use it, except for AMP.
Yeah, yes. AMP doesn't seem to have been adopted very well in terms of rankings for them. I guess they got too much critique when they put it out. Everyone's like rolling their eyes like, oh yeah, so everyone has to go to AMP now because that'll have a big ranking boost. And even Google employees on John Mueller's own Webmaster Central's Hangout said, oh yeah, of course it'll have a ranking boost. Like, and so John Mueller's kind of like looking around like this when he said it. So it doesn't seem to have that, in my experience, doesn't seem to have that much of a ranking boost AMP at all. But I think I definitely agree there, Jordan. Google Posts and things like that, I definitely see a boost of building up your own personal entity. I know my reviews seem to carry a lot of weight. My business listing I just made, that Best SEO Guru, I just made it on a lark. That's not my business name. I don't have a business name. My business name is just my name, Josh Paczynski. But it definitely shows up for best SEO guru in this area anyway. And it was showing up for a 1-pack for a while after we were testing some sneaky little local stuff to it. So yeah, definitely the more you build up Google's properties and entities and get that all working towards you, it definitely seems to help out. Any more questions here? Hook SEO says, I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens. Okay, thank you. So I want to talk a little bit more. If you guys have any more SEO questions, go ahead, please put them in the chat there. I want to talk a little bit more about the multivariate indexing and how it's working. I know a lot of people are kind of asking questions about how that works, and they don't really get what I'm talking about. And so I'm going to try and very simply, I mean, I already kind of mentioned it, but I'm going to try and draw a diagram very simply how the multivariate indexing is working. So instead of Google having one index of rankings, they actually have a whole set of indexes of rankings. Now, an index is the same as ranking, because the index is always indexed, right, in an order, is the same as sorting. These are actually the kind of the same concept when you think about it. And so there can be scenarios where not only does Google decide that it's going to rank this page higher because of reason ABC, but it's going to switch out, it's going to drop this index set, and it's going to promote this index set instead, because at random, the AI does, because of certain factors that it sees that are based on all different kinds of things. And so I'm finding that although it seems to have settled down a bit, they seem to have pulled it back slightly. In fact, I think the AI went a little crazy between March 12th and this last month. Essentially, it went pretty crazy, and people were complaining about it. I told Barry Schwartz about it. Then he wrote an article about it and quoted my Twitter. And then finally, Google said, "Oh, there's a bug." But the bug that Google was talking about isn't so much a bug. It's just that they're not reporting it anymore, right? They report that you have 100% indexing, but what is actually ranking is only like 3%, or in some cases, or important ranking pages are getting demoted in some cases. I don't know if you guys can see that because of the faces in the way, but important ranking pages are getting demoted in some cases, even though the index says, oh, we're 100%. So you need to do a deeper dive into what the index is saying and what important pages are actually ranking, and your impressions are actually going to go down as well. And we've already been dealing with this, like page would dance to here, then it would dance to here, then it would dance to here. That is in one sense can be a ranking difference between the two, but in another sense that could be them switching between indexing sets or indices, which is the plural of index. And that could be in this case as well. And so it's a broader concept than just thinking of it pages going up and down. And what this does for SEO testing is that I don't know if they did it intentionally or not, but they're messing with the SEO testing in a way that you do a snapshot of a ranking on this day, and this came out, you're like, oh yeah, the test worked. But then you check it the second day and it's down here. You check it another second later and it's over here. And you check it again on another IP address and the test page doesn't even show up. So this is actually what, if for people who are watching and paying closer attention, is what's going on. And so this is actually a hurdle for SEO testing. And because I would just, out of dumb sheer luck, doing testing between March 12th and now in this last month, I noticed how all this indexing was going on. And I've started to notice all the different multivariable indices. I've started to notice them, label them, notice how they work. Now there's two very recognizable ones that everybody already knows. There's the global index, and then there's the local index, right? Everybody already knows those exist. And then there's the personal index. Now Google has just made a whole bunch of those. Those are more pages underneath. Google has made a whole bunch of those and a whole bunch of these. And I asked Jordan if he saw more of these, and he's not really thinking that's the case. So it's just a deeper kind of pool of indices that Google can swap out in their crazy AI at random. And I think that this is, even if it doesn't seem, it seemed like it was working like that for last month and they turned it off. Even if it doesn't seem like it's working that way right now, I guarantee you it's going to seem more and more that way. People are already complaining to me that pages are dancing way too much. And their rank, that's why they have to give you an average rank in Search Console of like 5.2. And you're like, what does that mean? And And even if your average rank stays the same, you need to watch your impressions, because that's the important thing that'll tell you. For example, your average rank could stay like this, but your impressions could be here and suddenly go boom down to here. And that means you didn't get as many people seeing you. And even though your average rank still stays the same, they're not ranking you for the head terms like they were up here anymore than they are down here. And this will give you a sad face. So when you see something like this going on, it's because something like this is going on. They're ranking different index sets, and there's different triggers that will push them into other index sets. And I've been able to learn what a lot of these multivariable indexes are and what a lot of the triggers are that trigger between the two. And this is going to be the big trick moving forward in SEO, definitely for SEO testing, but also for understanding the rankings and understanding the data you look at when you see in Search Console and understanding what these numbers all mean here, which they've already been doing this already, but they just moved over to this big time.
So I've got a question, Josh. Are you finding then that your testing it has to be longer? Like it has to be a couple weeks or 3 weeks as opposed to what it was before or whatever time frame?
Yes and no, actually, yes and no. So some people, and I'm glad you asked that. Thank you very much. It's a very good question. Some people are just saying, well, then you can just let it sit. And maybe in the local index, maybe that would be sufficient just to let it sit. But Google, over time, you get a risk of, there's several of these multivariable indexes that time is not a factor. Meaning that if I let it maturate, it's not going to help the test at all. I'm still going to get false positives and false negatives all over the place. So time definitely is one of the things you can do, but it's not the only thing you can do. And sadly, in a lot of these multivariable indices that I'm tracking, time is not a factor that helps you. You'll still have bouncing all over the place. And so the question is, what of these indexes are going to be the final deployment index that Google is going to run with? And you have to kind of understand how all these are working in conjunction to be able to guesstimate whether your test was successful or not. But sadly, time in the global ranking has not proven to be a factor always, sadly. So in local, that could very well be the case, because like you said, local has a slew of other ranking factors that are not, that simply are just not used in any of those other areas. Like the geolocation of the person to the business, that relational set of the person to the business, for example. But no, sadly, it's not just a matter of letting them maturate. And unfortunately, there's a number of other SEO groups who just thinks, oh, just let it sit there for a while. And that might show you one multivariable index. Let's call that multivariable gamma, because I've named them all with Greek letters. But that's not telling you what alpha, beta, kappa, or mu, or nu, or any of the other ones are doing. And it doesn't mean you're going to get multivariable gamma either. In some cases, you will get false negatives and positives based on the other triggers, depending on what's going on, sadly. Okay, so let's go back to YouTube here. Let's see if there's any other questions. And if not, I can take a look at some other sites here. Let's take a look at, well, I was looking at Forever Greens. So let's do some other stuff for a site. So keeping in mind those multivariable indexes and some things that can help affect it, there are ranking factors that are just important for this multivariable index versus that multivariable index, and there are ranking factors that seem to be important for all the multivariable indexes. So another one that you could keep in mind here, of course, that Google has already mentioned, is speed. And it's an important one that I would use to test. You guys have seen me talk about that on the show before. Again, I would test 3G fast just because Google says that's what you should be doing, because they say that's the average. If that's actually the average or not, I don't know, but that's what they say. I can't imagine that as the average. That's awfully slow. But I mean, I guess if you're talking about the whole world, yeah, I guess that's the case. If you're talking about US or Canada or UK or developed first nations, developed first world nations, I'm guessing that that's going to be LTE, or it's going to be faster. But if you use the 3G as a minimum to get the worst case scenario, and then you build from there, then everything else is going to be super fast. That's going to be a good thing. So the other stuff here is there's a phone number in the top right hand side. I don't know if anybody ever sees that. You might want to make it more obvious. Again, I don't like Again, just as a 40,000 foot view, kind of suggestions from the hip suggestions, which does not, would not in any way replace a full audit or should be considered to be a full audit. Just saying that, putting that out there. I don't like having a form. First off, this form is on the left-hand side for left to right readers. I don't know if anybody will ever see it. I strongly doubt anyone has ever used this form. I'd be surprised if they have. And I don't like that it has so many fields I need to fill in. A good form should be right in the middle. It should be like right here where everyone's going to see it. And it should be email go or phone number go. It should be one thing and go, and get them into the process faster and smoother and sexier. That way you're going to have less traffic problems. You're going to have less conversion rate optimization problems. And you're going to have more people filling that in, which I think is fantastic. Let's take a look here at artificial grass or artificial putting greens. So again, here's a lot of pictures. You got text at the bottom. If the pictures are selling for you, great. This would be a great candidate for Hotjar. And I have to hand it hat tip to Jordan there, because I used to use Crazy Egg, but Jordan got me onto Hotjar. And so I have to say, Jordan, you're definitely right on that. I think Hotjar is better.
Yeah, I love Hotjar.
Yeah, it's fantastic, especially with the mouse movements and whatnot. I like it better than Crazy Egg now. Anyway, it's Hotjar is what I use now. I used to use Crazy Egg. And I would want to install Hotjar on this site for a short time to see what people are doing on it. All these options here at the front, my eyes glaze over. So again, I'm not in this niche. I don't know what people are looking for. Maybe this is exactly what they want to see at the top, but I don't know about you guys, but my eyes glaze over when I see this. So again, I personally don't think this user interface would be working very well for you, but hey, my opinion here is not what matters. It's what Hotjar says. And so you need to install Hotjar and watch the heat mapping, and you need to watch also the recordings of what people are doing. You need to plunk yourself down and tailor it from the shortest recordings to the longest, and watch the recordings and see how people are using your site. And you will be amazed at the eye-opening things you see. You're thinking your site's great and that everyone's using it fantastically, and then you're scratching your head why they're not buying. Well, if you install Hotjar, you start to tell really quickly that, oh, they don't like the design, and oh, they don't like the price, or oh, they don't like this form because they have to fill out so much different information, blah, 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 blah. And so, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Also, I noticed in Hotjar very interesting things. Like if they want to know, like let's say this was the most important information on this page, they were most wanted to know about, you're going to see all kind of clicks. You're going to see all kind of mouse movements over these words. You're going to see them clicking the words they think are important. You're going to see their mouse hovering. People hover where they read and they highlight stuff that they read. And I find it very interesting.
Yeah, if I can add something to this site, Josh,
please.
I just think the owner needs to be a little bit better on organization and really getting the site structure down. Just think of every service that you have as a theme. So if it's artificial grass, then put anything that has to do with artificial grass underneath that service. If it's something for a putting green, then use anything that you can theme out to that putting green, because a lot of the location pages are pretty scarce. All you did was list the project that you did in that city. I would try to get as much, get some content that really relates to that city, because it just seems like the site is very unorganized. I mean, if I go to different pages, or you have projects and then you have a putting green that you installed, and that's the entire URL, but there's nothing behind it. So it doesn't seem like the site is very well organized. I would just try to get everything themed together.
Yeah. This should be a more robust sales page. I think I would agree with Jordan there. That it's great you're showing your previous work, and your previous work to my eye looks fantastic. And so I think people would like to see this, but this is a very thin kind of page for that. And I think you're not going to help yourself ranking for backyard putting green in Hayward, California. It should be a page about putting in a backyard putting green in Hayward, California. And this should be at the bottom of the page, or showing, testimonials or previous work, and then show this is all the previous work we did, testimonials of people we did it for, and then more projects like this. So I definitely think this page needs to be fleshed out. It definitely doesn't have the on-page stuff. I just look at it with my eyes and tell you that this page needs work from an SEO perspective. And definitely from a sales perspective, I don't think this would be enough for me to go, yes, this is what I want. And I don't think this page would ever rank to begin with, or it would only rank if you barely have any competition. But again, I could be wrong, but I strongly doubt that. Let's look at what the speed said. And when you look at the speed, we do see some problems here. This content breakdown is one of the most important things I like with the webpagetest.org tool. It's going to tell you where things are, the bulk of your requests are coming from, and a good chunk of them are coming from JavaScript, which again, a brochure site like this does not need so much JavaScript. It doesn't need so much programming. I don't know why it has that much programming. Well, I know exactly why. It's because the template you're using and or the design you got from the designer is just some designer is just making a whole bunch of designs and they just copy over their CSS and JS they use every time. And that CSS and JS is super full of all this bloated code that it doesn't need. So again, designers usually are not. Oh, wait a minute! You're not seeing the website. You're seeing my face. Hold on. You guys see the website now, right?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we do.
Yes. So this is what I'm talking about here. And so let me look at the speed here. So again, JS, you see there's 30%. Yeah, I mean, like I said, that's just probably because of previous designers who are just copying over their JS and CS from every project, which is a very common thing to do in that regard. And so, and then I can tell this is fonts right now. 12% of your requests are fonts. So I can see that's going to be way too much. And if I click in here to look at that, it doesn't matter that it just says A. Do not go by the letter values. This is just someone's opinion as to how fast it is, and they don't know SEO, right? This is just somebody who thinks, some programmer who thinks if it loads under 5 seconds, that's good. 5 seconds is way, way, way too slow. Their standards are way, way off. Forget the letter grades, the letter numbers. You want to go by first byte time. That's the first important metric, and that is about 0.6 seconds too high. I'd want this down to be 0.5 seconds. And so definitely your server lookup took too long, and at 1 second for your first web page, that web page is just too big. So you need to limit the size of your first web page, and then start rendering. It takes a full almost 2 seconds to render. That's again too long. This needs to come down by about 1.4 seconds. So it's about 1.5 seconds. And so that is the JS and CSS. See all this JS and CSS that gets loaded? Look at all this JS and CS. I don't know if you guys can see that, if it's too small. That's way too much JS and CS. It's getting loaded at right off the top. That's all that stuff has to be loaded, and it's all loaded. They try to load it in parallel, but really it gets loaded more or less in sequence. So that's way too much stuff. And the DOM is not interactive. The first paint doesn't happen until 2.8 seconds. So they're waiting for a full 3 seconds before anything paints on the screen, before they get anything on the page, and then they can scroll around and use stuff after almost a full second after that. So that's way too long for people to wait on a mobile. And remember, speed is a direct ranking factor, so I could not recommend more for people to definitely speed that up. So how would you do that? Again, you remove the JS and CS. You get a programmer to remove the bloated code you don't need. You change your design for your index page here, and you would remove all the stuff here you don't need. That's just superfluous. That's not really helping out. And then after that, you would compile the whole thing. The images are not really important. Everyone thinks that that the images are really the slowdown. It's not the images. It's the server time. It's the HTML page size, and it's the JS and CSS and the fonts. Another huge problem here is that we're using Google fonts. Here's some of the Google stuff getting loaded here, and the Google fonts getting loaded even further down here. We definitely need to not be using Google fonts on this website. Bite the bullet and just use a regular. I don't think I don't think this font or this font here is so wonderful that it should take all that extra time to download. Just use a regular operating system font that all the different operating systems are going to have, like Arial or Verdana or something. And just use that font and bite the bullet and don't use the Google fonts. I think that this site would load much, much faster, and you would get better rankings and more rankings because of it. So that's definitely stuff I would take a look at doing there. Let's see if we have any other questions. If we don't, maybe we can get off free here early. Yukichin says, Josh, we don't see the site. Yes, I know. I know now. Yeah. Ryan says, with Hotjar, should we record one page at a time or all pages? I would do I know Jordan said to do all the pages, and yes, eventually I would do all the pages, but I wouldn't want to slow down the whole site. It depends how fast your site is. If your site's super fast, go ahead and do all the pages. And if you have a big team and you know what you're working on, go ahead and do all the pages. You have to do all the pages eventually. So Jordan's right.
Yeah. I would say a couple months ago, or actually like last November, like I would never use all pages, but Hotjar just did a pretty big update on their script. So it used to bog down sites quite a bit when I did all pages, but they just made a big update like in December or January. So now I just do all pages, and so far it's been fine. But I mean, I have really good hosting too. And
Okay, cool. Yeah, so as Jordan said, if you have a very fast server, then go ahead and do all pages. And if you have the bandwidth, if you have the bandwidth in terms of server speed, and if you have the bandwidth in terms of workers who can work on all the pages, then by all means do all the pages, because eventually you have to do all the pages anyway. But if you have a smaller team or you want to laser focus on just your ranking pages, I would just install it on your 3 or 5 most important ranking pages. I would get those working first, or where the traffic's coming from. If they go to the index page and then they go to a product page after that, I would work on those 2 pages. I would work on that flow. I would chase the traffic. Chase your majority traffic until it is all converting at the highest possible rate. That would be the way that I would do it. And you can install Hotjar on all pages and do that, or you can just piecemeal it until you get all the pages done that you want to get done. Ryan says, okay, I got to get in your group, Jordan. I just opened my second location in the Boston area. Yeah, for local SEO, I would definitely recommend check out Jordan's group. Jordan is the local guru. I've seen him do crazy, amazing things with local, with my own eyes in person at conferences. So I could not recommend that more. Christopher says, Jordan, does Geo Networks boost GMB, particularly from Web 20 Ranker? They are basically selling Web 2.0 localized sites that push local and your site. Would you need to send links to the Web 2.0?
Yeah, so we do similar things with building out like geo networks and niche networks, but I don't really mess a whole lot with Web 2.0s anymore. They're kind of becoming less and less effective. I'm about to start a new test with them, but last test I did, it didn't really do anything or didn't move much. So I just think that Web 2.0s are just kind of getting phased out at this point.
Yeah, and I would say the same for global SEO. Web 2.0s can be dangerous. I would definitely avoid them for linking for in a global setting. The main 2 words you have to remember for linking for global SEO is plausible deniability. Can you plausibly deny to the manual team who is giving you a manual action that you didn't make these links, that it's possible somebody else made them, or likely somebody else made them? And Web 2.0s don't really fit that bill very well, because by definition, they're websites you can log in and you can make your own content online, including the links to yourself. So that I won't say what I would include in the linking strategy. I save that for our mentorship group, where we get links that are 3 to 5 times as powerful as anybody else's links, and probably 3 to 5 times cheaper than anybody else's links. If you want more information about that, just email me at joshpashinsky.com, joshpashinsky@gmail.com. But I will tell you what not to do with links, and Web 2.0s is something I would avoid for linking for sure. So I'd like to thank everybody for joining in. I'd like to thank Jordan for dropping in. I'd like to thank Melissa for dropping in. We have one last question and we'll answer. And it's another one for Jordan. It is, what do you think about setting a GMB for free for dentists and then charge for ranking it to the top? Am I undervaluing my work?
No, I mean, that should be a part of your process, like for setting up the GMB and then ranking that in their site. So that should just be kind of it's a good add-on if they don't have one already.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if he means that you're ranking it, you're doing SEO work for the dentist for free, and then you don't bill them until you get them to the top, or if he's ranking a generic dentist shop GMB until it gets to the top, and then he rents it to a dentist. I'm not sure which one he means there.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I mean, I think any value that you can bring that help them, especially if it's a new practice, I mean, definitely help them out with that process of getting that verified, and then work on the GMB on the site.
It would be, wouldn't it be super difficult to do just like a generic kind of dentist site GMB and then rent it out to dentists?
Yeah, I typically any type of brick and mortar, I would never do any type of like lead generation or rank and rent. Just I would rather work with them, work with their own properties for that.
Okay. Well, thanks very much, folks. Again, I'd like to thank Jordan, Melissa, and everyone for dropping in. This has been the SEO Hangouts with Josh Bashinsky. And as I said, next week there is no course. There is no show. Sorry, I will be doing a course from a mentorship group on, like I said, Screaming Frog and SERPworks and how to use those tools at a high level. If you would like to watch the course, email me at joshbashinsky@gmail.com and I will get you at it. And so I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. And for those about to rank, we salute you. And good luck in the SERPs. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.